When I was 7 years old, I found my grandmother in the attic talking to herself in the mirror. It was floor length, set in a wooden frame with ornately carved feet, like ravens' claws. I hid behind a stack of boxes and watched the two women converse. One, my familiar grandmother, the other a nearly identical duplicate. Nearly. At first, I thought she might be practicing a speech. I'd done the same to prepare for a poem recitation in my second grade class. But then I saw the two versions of my grandmother move independently of each other. Mine tucked several flyaway strands of her silver gray hair behind her ear, while the other, not Grandma, scratched an itch at the tip of her nose at the same time. I gasped, alerting Grandma to my presence. She turned back, spied me cowering behind dusty boxes marked Xmas, and laughed. "What are you doing back there, silly?" she said, waving me forth. Sheepishly, I went to join her, eyeing not Grandma as I approached. Grandma hoisted me onto her lap and pointed to her reflection, whom I noticed then wasn't dressed the same. Similar, but with several deviations. Blue shirt instead of green, jeans instead of khakis, bifocal frames a different shape than I was familiar with. The fact she was so very nearly but not Grandma made her presence all the more unnerving. "This is my friend," said Grandma, smiling. "We can't hear each other, but we like to visit from time to time." Sensing my fear, she assured, "My friend won't hurt you." She couldn't even if she wanted to. Where she lives can only be seen through this mirror, and nobody can pass through it. I first met her when we were just little girls, like you are now. My disquiet waned, and I asked, "Where is she?" "A place much like here, just a little bit different." At that moment, a little girl came running into the mirror's attic, slipping her hand into not Grandma's and peering back into our world. My eyes widened, goosebumps broke out across my forearms. She was me, only not me. Similar, but with several deviations. My eyes were dark brown, but hers were bright green. I wore my hair straight, she braided hers. And when we looked at each other, I screamed, but she just laughed. Mom came running into the attic to check on me. "What's going on?" she demanded. Then she saw the mirror in which not Grandma and not me grinned back at the three of us. My mom glared at Grandma. "Mom, I thought we agreed not to show her until she was older." "Blame curiosity, dear. She discovered it the same way you did." Mom carried her lachrymose child down from the attic, placating me with empty reassurance. I knew what I'd seen. There was no going back. In time, however, the mirror no longer frightened me. Instead, it was just this funny thing in our attic that we told nobody about because we knew they wouldn't believe us. If we showed anyone, we knew at best that folks would demand to study it, and at worst, they'd take the mirror away. Grandma loved that mirror, loved sitting with not Grandma. They loved sharing one another's company. Mom and Dad said it did no harm to keep it, and that proved true for many years. Lately, things have changed. Grandma passed away a few months ago, but not. Grandma stuck around. Mom said this happened when her grandma died too, that the Mirror World's version lingered almost another whole year before passing away. We relayed the news to not Grandma by writing it on a whiteboard for her to read. She smiled, nodded, and wept. It was oddly comforting for me, offering closure I didn't get because Grandma passed suddenly while she slept. Like having a chance to mourn the deceased along with the deceased. The comfort was short-lived. While no one spent as much time with the mirror as Grandma, the rest of us made periodic visits to sit with our doubles, with whom we developed a silent rapport. They were all very similar, but, as previously stated, with several deviations. Mom's double showed a degree of impatience when my own mother was an endless font of calm. Not Dad had a predilection for physical fitness, whereas my father's waistline grew a half inch every year. My own double demonstrated a predilection for practical jokes. She liked to frighten us with jump scares, lie and say her family members died or had fallen gravely ill, when in fact, they were healthy. Sometimes we'd play games, things like chess or tic-tac-toe, instructing the other where we'd have our pieces moved or X's placed. Perhaps predictably, each of us won about half the time. We were fairly evenly matched, but whereas I took defeat with grace, she threw hissy fits. Not Me would toss the chessboard, scattering the pieces across the attic before storming out of the room. On one occasion, she took the whiteboard and broke it over her knee. Likewise, when she won, Not Me would gloat and laugh like a schoolyard bully, making faces and scrawling "loser" across the whiteboard. Something was amiss. There was more than eye color and hairstyle separating me from Not Me. A vast gulf divided her personality from mine, far greater than any of my other family members with their not-family counterparts. One Sunday afternoon, when Dad would typically visit with Not Father for their weekly newspaper comparison, his counterpart didn't show. Dad waited around for an hour before giving up. When he came back downstairs, Mom read the disappointment in his features. "What's the matter, dear?" she inquired. He shook his head, his face a mix of dismay and unease. "He didn't come. Nobody came. I just stared at an empty reflection like I was a vampire." Mom rubbed his back, reassuring. "I'll bet he's just sick." Our lives aren't perfectly synchronized, you know. But the following afternoon, when Mom would ordinarily knit with Not Mother, it happened again. Not Mother no-showed. She concluded that a bug must be going around the mirror world, and their bedridden counterparts simply lacked the energy to make their appointments. Then, for some reason, I was compelled to visit the attic late the next night. It was shortly after midnight, and I couldn't fall asleep. So, I guess I thought, why not? Unlike my parents, my counterpart appeared. In her world, a storm had knocked out their power, plunging their attic into darkness. The small circular window that looked out on the backyard revealed the powerful thunderstorm raging outside. Rain washed over the glass, and sporadic flashes of lightning banished the attic gloom for split seconds at a time. The eerie white light illuminated her face. My face, yet not my own. Not Me stood in the dark, staring through the portal of our mirror, grinning wolfishly back at me. After catching my breath, I scowled back at her, unappreciative of yet another practical joke. Only, she didn't break. She just kept staring at me, chin tilted toward her chest, eyes freakishly wide, with that hideous grin on her lips. "Okay, you're terrifying. Good job," I said, though of course she couldn't hear me. Another flash of silent lightning filled her attic with snow-white illumination. During the half-second it flickered, my eyes fell on my reflection's hand. Something was off about it. The shape was wrong. I squinted to better inspect, but the room went dark before I got the chance. I drifted closer, trying to ascertain what was wrong with her arm. Then, with my nose practically up against the mirror, another bright flash of lightning nearly blinded me. At the same moment, Not Me hurled an object from the offhand, which slapped against the mirror at the precise instant a subsequent flash revealed it. A hand. A human hand. Severed at the wrist and still bloody where it had been cut. The limp hand struck the mirror and dropped to the floor, leaving a bloody smudge at the point of impact. I stumbled back, clasping a hand over my mouth while Not Me laughed and laughed and laughed. I realized I hadn't been looking at her hand, but the hand she was holding, which now rested on the floor, shorn from the body it belonged to. Another flash of lightning, and I saw the blood soaking her clothes, dripping from her fingers. She lifted them, wiggled them in greeting before rubbing the blood across her bottom jaw, licking each finger clean. A scream formed in the back of my throat, but my lungs lacked the air to expel it. It took several deep breaths before I could wrench it free, filling the attic with the screeching sound of my terror. I was staring at myself, but not myself, covered in blood, laughing maniacally back at me. We were Melpomene and Thalia, reacting in human extremes. She charged toward me, and for a moment I feared she would pass right through the mirror, but at the last moment swung it aside so that its portal faced the opposite wall. Suddenly, the blood was gone, as was not me. Only boxes and rafters. My parents came rushing into the attic to see what was the matter, but I was too hysterical to explain. I haven't been able to speak about it since, despite my parents' interrogations. I think they blame me for the disappearance of our not selves, assuming I did something to upset the family that lives in our mirror. Because they haven't been back since. Not mother, not father, not me, all absent. Though I suspect two of them wouldn't be able to visit with us if they wanted to. I think of her holding that severed hand often now, wondering how a person could do such a horrific thing. Is that inside me? Is the growing hate I feel for my parents the seed of something tragic?